My name is Dr. Pramit Mukherjee. I am currently a neurocritical care and stroke resident. I work in two different hospitals based out of Kolkata. And probably Anand sir was finding it a bit difficult to understand what exactly I'm doing right now. So in the last current 2 years, I have cracked the entrances for post graduation in UK, in USA, and in India. I have had an opportunity to go into DNB neurosurgery as well as MS general surgery, but I have left them both. And I'm right now currently trying to pursue a neurology residency in US. Okay, so that is my description in short. And yes, my relationship with Dheya, and Dheya is very synonymous with two words for me. That is Anand Desai sir. So it started back away in 2008 when I was in the 8th standard, and my life has never been the same. The stress is actually good; it's not bad. It is only bad if you let it take a hold of you. Okay, so stress helps you to adapt to actually perform better. So one thing is you need to somehow put yourself into a schedule. Schedule takes away a lot of stress. Second, a very helpful thing is to go ahead and burn out that stress. Okay, take that extra stress out. Exercise a bit. Go out for a walk. Things like that. So one thing is shedding the excess energy through exercise. One thing is trying to just sit and do deep breathing. If nothing else, just to do deep breathing for 5 to 10 minutes, and it works wonders to calm yourself down. One thing is which is very important, which I learned from Anand sir, and this all of you need to hear and understand. I'm not so sure whether you have already heard of the law of attraction. Okay, this Anand sir taught me back when I was in 8th standard. So this basically you get what you want. Okay, that is what it means. In this life and in this world, you get what you want. So have a very positive approach from right from day one. See, day 100, when you're giving the exam, it is okay to have anxiety. It is okay to be second guessing. But from day one, when you're starting, you should have a very positive approach. This is what I want. This is what I'm going to do. And I will receive this. If I work hard enough, I will receive this. So back in my time, I used to do this, but later it got a name. It's called the Pomodoro technique. Okay. You sit with a subject. Okay. You shut out the entire world. Morning, you get up, you have your breakfast, you do everything. You sit with a subject. Like you have a goal in mind. See, before you get up, let's say I want to study a chapter in physics. The previous day, when you go to sleep, you need to know what you're going to study in the next day. So you don't get up and waste time. That's where scheduling comes in. The previous night, you know what you're going to study the next day. You have a goal in mind. Now, in that course of 24 hours, you might not reach that goal. That's secondary. But you need to know that I'll be studying this. And in the morning, when you get up, you can't be like, okay, do I study this or do I study that? That's going to take away time. And when the time goes away, that time crunch is going to make you feel the pressure. So that's not required. First, schedule. Next, what you do is have your breakfast. You have like, okay, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., I'm going to sit down and study. But the Pomodoro technique is this. How we try to say, like people ask toppers, how many hours a day have you studied? And people like 16 hours, 12 hours. For the love of God, I have never studied those many hours of day. I cannot study. That is not what you need to do. It's not the hours that you put in that matters. It's when you're studying, how much are you are understanding. I can understand in 15 minutes probably that somebody's understanding in 2 days. Okay. So it is not a very universal thing, how many hours to study. Okay. But when you do study, how do you do it? So the neurotransmitters in our brain, they replenish almost around approximately every 20 minutes. So you cannot focus on a single subject and single topic for more than 20 minutes at a stretch. This is scientifically proven. People who say that I've been studying for 3-4 hours, their mind has been wandering to 100 things for sure. So you sit down with a topic. You try to read the topic for 20 to 25 minutes at a stretch. You take a 5-minute break. In that 5-minute break, you do not wander away. You do not talk to people. You do not go to your mommy and start chatting. Okay. You don't talk to your friends. Those 5 minutes are your breather time. You come back, you again sit, and you study that same topic or the next topic, whatever, for 25 minutes. You take a 5-minute break. You again sit down and study for 25 minutes. You take a 5-minute break. And this cycle continues till you have done 4 Pomodoros. So 25 minutes study, 5 minutes break. That's half an hour. The same cycle repeats for 4 times. So half an hour, half an hour, half an hour, half an hour. So you have done 2 hours of studying. And those 2 hours of studying, after that, you take a break as much as you require between 15 to 30 minutes. This is what you do during exam time. And within those 15 to 30 minutes, you try to relax, try to reward yourself. So you have studied for 2 hours. You should be rewarding yourself. So during that time, listen to some music, eat some chocolates, do something which makes you feel good. But this is what is called the Pomodoro technique. And this is basically a very highly focused, research-oriented kind of studying. Okay, you study for 25 minutes, you take a 5 minute break, don't wander away, come sit down again, make yourself study for 25 minutes, take 5 minute break, 25 minutes, 5 minute break. When you have done 4 pomodoros, you take a 15 to 30 minute break, you reward yourself. If you can say, let's say you have we sleep for like 8 hours, and I won't say the rest 16 hours are there with us. Let's say if you have like a 10-hour study window, and if you can do let's say 3 to 4 pomodoros in a day, and if that's focused studying, you will have a lot inside yourself.
One more question, there'll be a lot of distractions, all the time. Some people, knocking on the door, or maybe some television happening somewhere, or maybe the mobile phone ringing, and you're worried about some, Facebook post or Insta post you have put in, or you're watching your group on WhatsApp or Snapchat or something like that, and most of the times the whole time gets wasted on this. How do you get rid of this? And still remain focused? That's the question I want to ask.
Most of students' education are on gadgets right now. This is a big challenge. If you're studying over, let's say, an iPad or whatever, a tablet or a phone, if it's electronic media you're studying from, you have to put that on airplane mode. There is no second question about it. If you have been clear with yourself, Jay, I am going to achieve this by the end of this year. This is my target at the end of this exam. But I'm not going to put a pressure on you and say, "Jay, all of you need to top." You don't need to. See, there are different priorities in life for different people. Okay, but you might. Somebody probably wants 80% from an exam. Somebody wants 90%. Somebody wants 100%. Somebody wants to be the topper. I have learned this throughout my years. Not everybody wants to be the topper, even though this is a big fallacy. Everybody thinks that everybody wants to be the topper, but that's not the case. Everybody wants to do well. Okay, wants to do well. Everybody probably doesn't want to top. Whatever your goal is for your own self, you have to be true to yourself, and nobody can do that for you or on behalf of you. So you have to have that hunger within yourself to go ahead. If somebody is having to scold you 6 times to sit down and study, I think you're not yet on track. So first you have to come to track and then go ahead.
I'm going to open this forum for question answers now. So can you just raise your hand so that I can unmute you and then allow you to ask a question? Yes, Rutuja Patil has raised her hand. Okay, Rutuja, can you ask your question? Just unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Pramit sir. Actually, as a student, I usually face the problem of continuity after exam. Now, we focus a lot for the exams, and once we have exams coming up regularly, right, as an 11th or 12th grade. So after exams, I tend to fall into a burnout. So how
Yes.
can you get out of that quick enough so that you can catch up for the next exam?
Right. So I'll just clarify this question. Are you talking about a burnout? Let's say you have like 5 exams with 2 days gap. Are you talking about burnout after giving 2-3 exams while you still have 4 left, or are you talking
No,
about
after the
a
exams.
burnout after giving an entire set of exams?
Yeah, after the entire set.
So help me out. You have your sets of exams, like the interval between exams is how long?
Generally, we don't really have any interval between exams. If we are lucky enough, if we haven't chosen the subject, then we have one day of interval or the weekend.
Still a little confused. That means if you're giving a good exam, you have 1 day gap and you have to talk
Yes.
the ball between 2 exams, like with 1 day. So you gave your exam. Yeah, I think I got her question. I think if you're preparing for serially 2-3 exams, in between, how do you recharge is the question. I still would like to ask a question, so can you please unmute her? Are you a person who crams during exams? Are you somebody who'd want to study more during the last 1 week rather than the last 3 months? There are two different types of way we study. Either somebody actually study. There are people who study all throughout the year. They do not want to take stress too much during the exam time, and there are people who want to float through the year and give a lot more stress during exam time. What kind of a person are you?
Generally, during exam time, I only like to revise. I don't like to pressurize myself.
That's great. So the way you're spacing out your words, that also is denoting the same to me. So you're a consistent person. If that is the case, see, if you have given an exam and let's say you have 24 hours to another exam, the only thing you need is rest. Rituja, honestly, the only thing you need is rest, because one day before the exam, you will not be learning new things. And you have to trust yourself that what you have studied throughout the year, you already know, and it's going to come out during the exam. What is required is probably just a look through of the subject, just a look through. It does not need to be a very detailed review. One day before the exam, if we need a detailed review, we have not been studying properly. So, first of all, take out the stress of having to do a detailed review within your mind. You will feel like, suppose if we give one subject exam on day 1, day 2 is a blank day, and day 3 we are appearing in one exam. Since you have been focusing completely on day 1 subject, no, your brain is going to falsely tell you, "Jay, I don't think I remember much for the next exam," but you do, and it kicks in on exam day. You are not going to do a detailed review between that. You're going to give the exam, you're going to come back home, you're going to eat and sleep. You're going to get up after at least 2 hours of proper sleep, okay, recharge, take a walk, come back, open your books, see how much you have. Don't get overwhelmed, okay? Just let your eyes roll over the subject on the day before the next exam. That is, see, we work on visual cues. That visual cue will stimulate the entire memory pathway, and that's going to be enough for your exam next day. It's just that our brain needs time to refocus from something. We can actually focus with a lot of intent, okay? So if you've given an exam on one subject, our brain needs a little bit of time, and 24 hours is, I'll tell you, enough to refocus on the second subject. Between that refocusing time, you are going to feel falsely that you don't remember anything for the next subject, but you do, since you have been studying throughout the year. So all you need to do is probably carve out 6 to 8 hours light time and do light readings. Skim through. This is what we call skim reading. Not again detailed, la 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 la, nothing like that. See, that's going to take away energy, and you're going to feel even more flustered for the next exam, for the third exam. Don't do that. Skim read, use visual cues. If it's an exam where you have diagrams and pictures, let yourself and tables. So one thing is, most of our exams, at least during school time, there are words and stuff written, and then there is material with tables and charts and stuff. So those are visual cues. Try to focus on them. If there is a matter which is written, and if there is matter that same matter is explained in forms of charts and tables and diagrams and flowcharts, focus on them. That's enough. You don't even need to read the passage. Your brain will bring back whatever was there in the passages. That's how wonderful our brain is. I hope I've been able to even give you 1% of, a tip. Yeah. So
Yeah.
whatever studying, I'll tell you something. All our mind does this wonderful thing. You do not need to read the entire thing. You need to read highlights. So one more thing, this goes out to all of you, is if you have to read like an entire book, if you have to skim through an entire book for the next day's exam, you better have highlighted the stuff, important key points, while you have been studying throughout the year. See, all throughout that year, that entire year is given to you because first you read that entire book. In the second read, you have figured out what is important in that. In the third read, you have figured out what is important in that. And that last, like entire paragraph, probably only 2-3 lines are of note. Everything else is a story. You have to note them and keep them for the day before exam, so that when you're studying 4 pages, you're effectively studying 16 lines. You're effectively skimming through 16 lines in 4 pages. You don't need to remember every single comma, dash, full stop. If you have a photography memory, you don't even need me to talk here. Okay. But if you don't, you do not need to remember all the 4 pages. I think I'm being able to explain myself properly here. If you are studying a subject, and when you're studying a subject, it is not enough to just study it. Okay? It's not enough to read it. You have to ask yourself how much you retain it from that one read. So go through, let's say we are studying a paragraph. Give it a quick read first. Give it a quick read. If you don't retain, that's fine. Give it a quick read. If you have retained something, close your book, close your eyes, and tell it to yourself what you retain. If you see you don't retain anything, give it another read. Now ask yourself, what did you retain? What did you even understand? See, if you're asking yourself what you have written from that paragraph, you're making sure you've actually read and spent those minutes properly. If you're just reading through pages, you might have hours whiling away while you have retained nothing. The only way to make sure that whatever you're studying is not staying in your working memory, but is actually getting consolidated into long-term memory, is repetition and retraining. Repetition and retraining, no matter who tells you this smart work, this is smart work. Hard work and smart work goes hand in hand. This is smart work. So you make your memory long-term by recapitulating and asking yourself. So while you're studying, you can do, what I used to do back in school, I remember, is I used to read a paragraph. I had a handy notebook next to me. I used to jot down the points. That way, while I'm doing the exercise of writing, I'm using a lot of memory, okay? This you won't understand right now, but your brain is actively trying to shoot out neurotransmitters in different pathways and trying to retain that subject. And it's trying to recapitulating. This process of recalling and recapitulating is going to consolidate. And you're going to achieve a lot more in 15 minutes than you're going to do in an hour of reading. You need to do that for every single subject out in the world. When you're studying it, recapitulate then and there. Also, when you go a bit higher ahead, okay, this concept is new in India. It's not yet come. People use it abroad. We do a lot of mug reading. We do a lot of like bulk and mug reading. That's not the way to go ahead. But so for when you do find out the highlighted points in a subject, take those highlighted points, and there's a concept of flashcards, okay, which it's coming to India in the last 5 years, but people abroad, that's how they remember. You see, your memory, it's a very difficult to remember pages, unless and until you have photographic memory. You can remember points. Take down highlighted points, make flashcards, okay? And there is something called spaced repetition algorithm. There are platforms out there. There's something called Anki Deck, okay? You can put those points and they flash to you those points and you see whether you can answer them. So there are two sides to the deck. You have a question, you have an answer on the opposite side. You see whether you can remember correctly or not. Based on whether you have given a correct response or based on whether you have given an incorrect response, they try to bring back that same flashcard based on, like, if you have given a correct answer, they will get to you with like after probably like an hour. If you're given an incorrect answer, they will going to repeat it to you until you have a correct response to it. Okay, so this is called spaced repetition. This is something which helps in competitive exams. School exams, things are a little different. Competitive exams used spaced repetition algorithm. So I've talked about Pomodoro technique here. Okay, I've talked about spaced repetition. These are two things for competitive exams you need to use.
Ketki is a cricket player, okay?
Oh,
And
much like
and she explains very well. So over to you, Ketki. Please go ahead now.
So my question to you is, sometimes I lose motivation while studying. So how to bring back that motivation?
Okay.
Now, this is a challenge for everybody, Pramit. Some people like some subjects, some people don't like that subject. And when they don't like something, they're not motivated enough to, even go and touch that subject. So how do you handle this?
There are subjects which are going to bore you out, which you're not going to find any meaning of it. I'm going to tell you on one more secret. In your day-to-day life later, you're going to find that a lot of subjects that you've studied are pretty useless for you. That's very true. But what you're not going to understand is what you're studying throughout your school life is helping you make a gist of your world, So some of you who are in 8th and 9th and 10th standard, not 12th, because you picked a stream, and you like mathematics unlike me, going to be like, why the hell am I going to study history, geography? Why? Makes no sense. Yes, it does not make any sense for you in your day-to-day life, later on maybe, but you know what schooling is all about? Schooling, or rather formal education, is to help you understand what you are and where you are. Do not fall into the trap of understanding that it's to get a job. That is not how schooling came into being. It is to help you understand who you are and where you are and what you are. The thing, I mean, if you did not have any formal schooling, you would have no understanding of the world. If you do not know history, you do not know where you came from, the land you are stepping on. If you do not know geography, you do not know climate change. And when 20 years later, you're in an important conference and you're amidst like highly intellectual people, they're going to have discussions not in your subject, but they're going to have discussions about the world. And you're going to know zero about it if you have paid no attention to your history, geography, and things like that. Subjects which you did not like. It's okay to not like, but it's also, I think, required to at least have an understanding of that subject. So I think I'll tell you one thing. We approach this entire education thing from a very wrong perspective. You are studying the subjects not to top. Get this very clear. You're not studying all of your subjects to get a job. You're studying it to be a better human being. You're studying subjects to understand what exactly is going on in this world. And you cannot do it through Meta, Facebook, WhatsApp, Insta. You can't do that. That's a very false world that's going on. If that world did not exist 20 years ago and it has just come into creation and it's creating a pseudo reality, that is not the world. The world you live in, the world which is nurturing you, and the world you will be going ahead has a lot to offer. You need to understand it. But most of us, we do not have the feel to understand it while we are in school. By the time you realize, oh damn, I should have known this a bit better. If I had known this, I think I would have been in a better position. It's too late. So do understand, schooling or formal education is for that purpose. So I just want to get to know you a bit better, Ketki. Just can you please tell me, like, apart from cricket, what else do you love? But are there like particular subjects that you like and particular subjects you dislike?
Yes.
Go ahead,
I
Ketki.
don't like maths at all. And I like social studies a lot, geography and history. And I score good marks in that subject.
So now rephrase your question. When you say that you feel unmotivated, do you feel unmotivated to studying in general, or do you feel unmotivated while studying a few subjects?
No, in general.
In general?
Yeah.
What do you like doing? What keeps you motivated in life? Are you saying that you do not feel motivated at all to do anything?
No, like I have set up some goals in front of my study table, so I read that and then I get motivated. But after some time, I lose my motivation again.
Ketki, come back to the bigger picture. See, one part of being a student is to keep coming back to the bigger picture. What do you like doing in life? I don't want to hear about your studying. See, you people might think that that's the problem, but do you stay motivates you in life? Not your what motivates you in life? What do you feel like doing all throughout
Playing
your day?
cricket. Playing
Okay.
cricket.
So, is that your primary goal to be a cricketer?
Yes.
That's your primary goal, right? So, to be a cricketer, what minimum educational qualifications do you require? So, Ketki, can you be playing cricket 24 hours into 7 all throughout, all day, every day?
No.
So, what do you do when you're not playing cricket?
Actually, I've stopped cricket right now because of my boards.
So, which standard are you in?
10th.
You're going to give your 10th standard. Your exams, like in how many days?
3rd March. It's starting from 3rd March.
So that's gone wrong. First thing I'm going to advise you is every 2 to 3 days, please go and play cricket for an hour and come back.
That's right.
You are motivated right now because you're not doing something you love. And if we are taken away from something we love, we are not going to find that anywhere else. So, this entire approach to forcibly curb everything else, to try and focus myself on another goal which I don't even want, probably right now at this point of time, you might want it 2 years later, you don't know, is something which is not going to work for you. So, to stay motivated, I am going to say that you stay in a some sort of activity related to cricket at least for an hour, if not every day, but at least once or twice a week. That is how you're going to even want to study. Otherwise, you're not going to want to study. Even if our parents are listening in, I'm going to tell you this is a wrong approach. To completely stop something you love and to try to study, there's going to be no motivation at all. It's very important that you do not drown yourself in inactivity just because you have a board exam coming up. It's not going to help you. I told you, Jay, you need to probably do 4 pomodoros, so, or let's say 3 pomodoros, so only 6 hours of studying. You have hours to go out and play.
Every time you try to strive to achieve certain things, in a competition, and you're trying to win, okay? Maybe at times there are many you must have not won, but I'm sure wherever he won, it gave me another motivation to do better in the next one. Okay, and that's the whole rolling starts. Okay, let me ask Meghna.
So my question is, I've been studying in a boarding school since I was in grade 5. And like I'm away from all the distractions like mobile phone, gadgets, and then but my problem here is like we have a particular time for dinner, breakfast, refreshments, and lunch. And then I do like 2, 3 hours of sports every day, but still I'm not getting the results in my studies. Whenever I sit to study one of my worst disliked subject, I feel like I won't be able to do it and I can't do it and I don't study it. And then I feel very demotivated, like I won't be able to do it. I just have confidence in like one subject, that is mathematics, and then no other subject.
Which standard are you in right now, Meghna?
I'm in grade 10th.
Anand sir, give me a background. Everybody here is going to appear for their boards, is it?
Not everybody. There are some 8th and 9th and 10th and 11th and 12th. There's a mix of people.
It's a mix. Okay. Meghna, are you going to appear for your exam in March? This is February.
No, it's February, like just 27th of February I'll start.
So this is what I need to know. So it's your exams is like in 10-15 days. Is your exam in another 10
Yes,
and
sir.
15?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So outright, I was going to say something to you, but if I say that, probably it's going to make you more anxious. The subjects that you don't feel motivated in, no, are probably subjects you do not understand much, or subjects you do not have basic.
I don't feel like studying them. I don't feel a need according to what I have to pursue in future. I don't feel like studying any of those subjects.
What do you want to pursue in future?
I want to become a volleyball player, most probably, like till now.
Where the thing is, yes. Okay, so you want to become a volleyball player. I can approach this in 2 ways. I can either give you the harsh reality or I can tell you in a more realistic way. And like, been playing volleyball for how many years?
I started playing it when I was in grade 7th. And like, because I achieved a lot the same year, I got really motivated in the sport. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take it as a career. Now still I'm working on it. But studying side by side makes me feel like, क्यों पढ़ना है? I don't feel
Pramit,
like.
I'll just intervene here, okay? Now,
Yes.
many of you must be feeling this question, okay? क्यों पढ़ना है? Why? इसका क्या फायदा है? And it's been going around in the entire schooling scenario these days. This education system is crap. Am I right or wrong? This has been going around, right?
Yes,
Yes or
sir.
no?
Probably.
Yeah, everybody is talking about it. But listen to this. Understand this. What Pramit said was very important. What he said is, it's trying to make a human out of you. Okay, it's as simple as that. Okay, it's trying to give you a world around you, saying that this is what is the basics of this world. You may not find it relevant at this stage, but then over a period of time, it's trying to build you into a person. And when you go up to the next level, okay, these are the bases that you may or may not even think that will be useful, but they have already shaped you and built you up, right? And that is what education does to you. Now, only education and only doing that rote learning will destroy you. Like you said, okay, I don't feel motivated. Fine. But then there's another angle to it. How many times you're telling yourself that I hate this subject, I hate this subject, I hate this subject. You keep on telling it, right? Meghna, Ketki?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, if you want to change it, why to do something? Remove that word hate and say, I love this subject. So if you start saying to yourself that I hate this subject, when complexity arises, what will you do to yourself? Just
I
imagine
think
what will you do?
everybody is, and rightly so at their age, they're like questioning the relevance of education, especially people who are into sports and other activities. Is there anything against you being a good volleyball player as well as you being highly educated? Can
Yeah.
it go hand in hand?
That's a very
Think you,
beautiful thing. Very beautiful thing.
do you think you have anything against it?
No.
Like if you had, let's say you had the potential to be a statistician as well as you have the potential to be the world's best volleyball player at the same time, would you like to have both, or are you just like, oh no, okay, with volleyball, let everything else go to hell, I don't want anything?
I would go for both.
You would
I
go for
would go
both,
for
right?
both.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Not have anything against being both. So my question is, are you doing justice to your both potentials right now in your mind, or are you being a bit too narrow with only the thing you love?
I'm being a bit too narrow to only to think.
You know, we have 15 friends and we end up loving one of them and they become our boyfriend or girlfriend. But does it mean that we leave the rest of the world out? We
No.
still give a little bit of attention to our parents and to our friends and try to have the role of a good girlfriend as well as a good friend as well as of a good daughter and everything else. We cannot be just one thing in life. You have to understand this. You cannot be just a volleyball player because even if you go and if you play, let's say I'm assuming and I'm wholeheartedly saying that you're competent to do this. You can play in the states, you can play in the nationals, but an athlete's career is still, when do they retire, Meghna?
Playing international matches once they go for
Age. I'm
full
talking
on.
about
They play
age.
for the country.
Talking about age.
Age.
I'm talking about age. Yeah.
I have no idea because I've never thought of getting retired.
But you're going to get. You're going to get it. So after that, who's
Yeah.
gonna be a former volleyball player only?
No. I have to do something because I still have, time.
So right now, so this is one approach. The other approach is right now you're not being able to understand the relevance of anything apart from the thing you love is because there are basic needs in life around you, for you, and of you, which are being taken care of. One day you're going to step up and you're going to take care of your basic needs and everybody else's basic needs around you. That day you're going to find the relevance. Our life, very harshly put, is not only about the things we love. The things that we love comprise a certain part of it, and a lot of our lives is also about things that we do not love but we have to do to be a good citizen, to be a good human being, to be a good person, to at least function properly. Education gives you that. Education gives you that. As I said, if you like mathematics, if you hate everything else, you just read it because you want a gist of the world, okay? Not because you want to top. This is where I was trying to come at, Anand sir. Not everybody wants to be a topper, and that's fine. It is that does not have to be the goal. You have to sail through. You have to have an understanding. See, I'll tell you, Meghna, whether I top in 10 boards or not doesn't matter right now. See, I know people around me. I have friends who did not do well in 10th boards, did not do well in 12th boards, okay? But they are doing brilliantly in their lives, okay? But that doesn't mean they didn't study. They were probably studying in a way which did not give too much importance or too much stress with respect to the assessment. See, these assessments happen once a year. If you're not feeling well, you might give a suboptimal exam and your score might be bad, okay? That doesn't say that Meghna is stupid, but that's the general conception. That's a wrong notion. You have to grow as a person, grow as a human being, and for that you need to read, not for the sake of reading, for to just be a better human being. Yeah? I mean, it's difficult for me to push that realization 10 years too early for you, but simply put, If you don't want Meghna to just be a volleyball player, but if Meghna has a potential somewhere else, you have to find it. So you have found your potential in volleyball. I am sure you have your potential somewhere in academics too. To find it, you have to go around and keep studying and find, okay, I probably like this subject too. Let me do it. Okay. So find the love. I mean, see, 1 month before the exam, my words are not going to make any sense. So this is a wrong time for me to address you. Two things for you: find the love, find your other potentials, get somebody to get your basic concepts clear in the subjects you do not like. Most of the subjects we don't like because we don't understand it. We don't understand its relevance. We don't understand what it's saying. That's why we hate it. We hate what we don't understand. But you start understanding, you are definitely going to like it because your brain can't reject it. Your brain cannot reject what it understands. Okay. So these are the three things I would say for you. It might not have any relevance for you 15 days later. These 15 days, you're going to have to probably cram.
Thank you
Anand,
so much, sir.
Okay, Sarvadya,
Yes, sir. Actually, when I study, I don't know how to study for MCQs and the questions asked for 1 mark. So I don't know how to study them properly.
Akanksha, go ahead, ask the question.
Yes, sir. My question is that, like, I am a basketball player and I'm also going to 10th standard. So my schedule is gonna be very tense, and as I'm going to a lot of tuitions, which I need because I need a guidance for my few of my subjects. So I will literally be coming from school, going to the tuitions, coming from tuitions, going to the basketball classes, coming home, doing the self study. With like this will take me ऐसे रात के 2 बजे तक. But I want some guidance to how to
Okay.
schedule my day to be it like less exhausting.
Rudra Prasad, what is your question?
Yes, sir. I am in a 11th class. How do I get to know if I have totally understood the chapter or understood the concept which I have studied? Like, for example, I took a chapter of physics and I wholly gone through the page by page textbooks and all the material. But still, when I try to solve the questions, there are still, I find some, what you will say,
Gaps.
how will I get to know that I have totally, completely understood and I should move to the next chapter or next step of study?
Okay, right. So this is a good question. We'll come back to you. Yeah, Samira, please go ahead.
Good morning. So, 10th graders and 12th graders are going to be appearing for boards really soon. And my question to you would be, how should we qualitatively revise a particular topic or a chapter?
Okay, fantastic. Very beautiful, sharp question.
I'm going to start with Rudra Prasad's question. Okay. So, one line for you: teaching back is the best form of learning. So, when you're studying, either one thing, first of all, jot down what you just studied and then ask yourself, what is this exactly trying to tell me? You study a paragraph. You ask yourself, what exactly is this concept trying to tell me? And where do I see it out in the world? Give yourself a real life example. Try to inculcate it then and there. Or to explain those 3-4 pages what you learned, try to explain it to somebody else. If you do not find another person or if it acts as a distraction, try to explain it to the wall you have or to the teddy bear you have next to yourself. While trying to explain, you are going to understand the lacks and the lacunae you have. That is how you go ahead with studying. If there are certain things inside which you do not understand and you need help, then you need help. You have to reach out to your mentor or to somebody else who have explained the topic. Jot down stuff that you don't understand, keep it, make it a point to ask those questions to whoever your mentor is. I'm sure you will be having a mentor for all subjects. So address those points, come back, read it again, make your concept whole. When you read something, those are concepts. Get the concept, get the concept, get the concept. That's all I'm going to say. How to study MCQs? Sarvadni, you do not study MCQs. You study the subject. You study the subject and then you solve MCQs pertaining to that subject. But there are techniques to solve MCQ. If it's subject-based MCQs, so you can take educated guesses. So there'll be 2 options which are there, which can blankly not be the option. You have to take an educated guess between the rest two. Do not spend too much of your time reading and solving MCQs because that is not the way you top or get good score. You study the subject and that filters into you answering the MCQs. See how much you're doing. But don't study MCQs, study the subject. That would be the answer to you. Coming to Akanksha, the way you beat this is increase your self-study hours and keep basketball. You would have to somehow take out tuitions which are not really necessary. Okay? Get home help, not somebody you go to, but somebody who comes to you. Okay, if that's possible, you have to increase the self-study hours because that is something you have control on. Use the Pomodoro technique if possible. Do concentrated learning. Do focus concentrated learning. That's how you bring out time do your basketball.
Arinjay, you wanted to ask something?
Yes, sir. Sir, I'll be appearing for boards right now after like boards on 21st of Feb. And I've basically like listened to every conversation until now and realized that I'm following most of the things. But sometimes there are days that I study the whole day with focus and everything without distractions. But then there are days where I don't feel like studying. Like I don't feel like doing anything except like now I draw. I do a lot of drawing
Yeah.
stuff. So I feel like drawing. I don't study at all. I don't feel like studying at all that day. But that there
Yes.
is this feeling that I'm not studying the whole day, but I'm still drawing. So it's kind of like a waste of time or something like that.
Good. You feel guilty.
Yeah.
Arinjay, let me tell you, what you do is perfectly fine. Perfectly okay, perfectly fine. If you have been studying for a few days and if you take a day off, that's actually advised. I would prescribe you that day off as a doctor. But whatever you do outside of your studies, if it's like within the exam preparation period, don't do something very intense. If you're doing something to relax yourself, it's absolutely okay, even if you spend the entire day. Relax, draw, don't feel guilty because next day you're going to double up on the amount of studying. So it's perfectly fine, normal, not an issue. Okay.
And another question actually, is it advisable to actually listen to music while studying?
Good question. Very good question. Do not put earphones outside. Nowadays, I'm hoping you have Spotify. Go ahead, type Zen music. Okay. Zen music. Let it play. It actually helps you focus. Don't put it in your ears because in your ears, it will take up a lot of your concentration focus. Zen music outside, low oral beat musics outside, it actually helps you focus. Samira, can you please unmute?
Yes, sir. So my question to you was, how should we revise a particular topic or a subject properly?
Have you highlighted things out of your subjects and stuff like that?
Yes, sir.
You need to know before your exams what are your high yield points or high yield questions. Okay. Questions which have been asked many times. You have to focus on them. Read them so well that you not only can answer probably a long question, a long essay if you have that, but also can make shorts. Okay. Stay positive. Have faith. Go and give your exam.
Thank you, sir.
As you said, let go for 1 hour and play what you love, like play cricket. I'm really afraid what if I don't get that percentage, like or 90%.
I think you're using the wrong word. I don't think you're unmotivated. I think you have the fear that is pushing you to stay up till 3 a.m. and study. But I think you're getting fatigued. Okay. Have faith in yourself. Stay positive. If you're sitting down to study, you make short term goals. My advice to you would be 1 hour goals. Sit down to study. Next 1 hour, I'm going to read these 5 pages. I'm going to have it memorized. That 1 hour done, try to recapitulate. Go ahead, make a next hour goal. The rest of the time that you have till your boards, go by this 1 hour goal. Forget about the big picture of 90% and the fear and all of that. Just focus yourself on this goal, not the 90%. The 90% will follow. Stay positive.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Dr. Mukherjee, once again, thank you. You've given us a lot of time. You've patiently answered all our questions. So thank you for that. And wishing all the students, irrespective of whether they are giving board exams or whether they're giving any exams, please do consider that this is a time that you have invested in yourselves. We wish you all the very, very best.